Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was pleased to introduce H.R. 2064, the Improving Access to Capital for Emerging Growth Companies Act, with Congressman John Delaney of Maryland, whose personal experience with our capital markets makes him uniquely suited to work on these issues and find ways to improve our current system. This legislation builds upon the success of the original Bipartisan Jobs Act that I worked on, which created a new category of stock offering for emerging growth companies, which have proven to be a major new source of job creation for the 21st century. A 2014 study by Ernst & Young showed that smaller companies continue to dominate the IPO market, specifically that approximately 81% of all publicly filed IPO registration statements and approximately 84% of the IPOs that went effective since April 2012 were filed by emerging growth companies. Job creation is the most important reason to pass this legislation quickly. More companies going public leads to more expansion and investment, which will lead to job creation and a brighter, more productive economy. Our bill makes some important changes to the registration process to ensure that these companies have the most efficient, streamlined access to the market. Shortening the 21-day filing period to 15 days would save companies exposure to some market volatility before a public launch. The purpose of the 21-day period is to allow the information about the EGC IPO to disseminate to the public before purchase orders are taken on the EGC stock. But with today's technology, the current 21-day quiet period is unnecessarily long. The shortened time period would allow the benefit of clear visibility in market conditions and would save companies having to update financials and other disclosures before public launch. Additionally, the bill calls for a grace period of Jobs Act protections to an issuer who loses EGC status mid-IPO process. Under current law, if a company exceeds the EGC status criteria during the IPO process, it no longer qualifies for the designation. This discourages a borderline EGC that may be considering going public from making an offering. This grace period would allow an issuer who qualifies as an EGC at the time of filing of its confidential registration statement for review to continue to be treated as an EGC through the date on which it completes its initial public offering of 1 year has passed, or whichever comes first. Finally, the bill would permit EGCs to avoid incurring significant expense and effort of preparing and having audited financials and related disclosures for past periods that will not be included in the prospectus to investors. Identical legislation passed this committee 56-0 last Congress, so I urge my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to support H.R. 2064. This is a simple common sense adjustment to reduce the burdens placed on smaller companies that are trying to access the market, grow their businesses, and hire more employees. Now more than ever, we as members of Congress need to be sharply focused on the ways to facilitate job creation, and this bill is an important step in this direction. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate your willingness to allow us to do this, and I yield back the balance of my time.